Discover the incredible moment a poor girl's heartfelt plea changed everything for her sick mom. Emily's heart pounded like a war drum as she stood backstage. Today was not just another day, it was a chance to change everything. Her fingers brushed the worn playbill in her pocket, a ticket to the talent show that had ignited hope in her chest. "This is for Mom," she whispered, taking a deep breath. Outside, laughter and chatter filled the auditorium, a world away from the cramped apartment she called home, where she spent her afternoons caring for her fragile mother, Beth. Every day felt like balancing on a tightrope, juggling school, walking the neighbors' dogs, and selling baked goods. The pennies she made were hardly enough, but she clutched onto her dreams like dandelion seeds in the wind, hoping they would reach the right hands. Her father, serving abroad, was her last thread of support. He sent love in just happy enough letters, but she wished for more than words. She craved resilience and strength. Walking onto that stage was like stepping into the light after a long darkness. The spotlight warmed her face as she adjusted the microphone, her breath shaky and shallow. The audience, a mosaic of familiar faces with hidden struggles, watched expectantly. Emily closed her eyes, envisioning her mother smiling, imagining the soft way Beth whispered, "You can do anything." She opened her mouth, pouring her heart into a song that rippled through the air, a melody about love, resilience, and the invisible burdens that tie families together. Her voice trembled, but the raw emotion carried her. Suddenly it was as if the entire town leaned in, shared understanding flickering in their eyes. But then came the backlash. "Why does she deserve our help?" a voice sneered from the back. "Just because she sings?" The heavy air crackled with tension, disbelief flashing through the crowd. But Emily's heart, already heavy from their comments, only swelled with vulnerability and resolve. This was her life. This was her and her mother's fight. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." The audience buzzed with hushed murmurs. The chatter morphed into dialogue, the expressions shifted from judgment to contemplation. They wrestled with deep-seated biases, torn between recognizing Emily's need and grappling with their own assumptions. Unbeknownst to Emily, her plea became a spark. A spark that lit conversations about community, about support, about what it truly means to stand together. As the tension escalated and leaders spoke up, change simmered in the air, like summer storms brewing on the horizon. Emily felt the hope rise, a swell within her that hadn't been there before. Families began to discuss how they could help one another, how they had never truly seen the invisible battles around them. But just as Emily began to feel the warmth of growing support, reality jolted her. Her mother's health was faltering, a shadow looming over their home. Emily realized their reconnecting would be a bittersweet dance of joy and fear. Would the same acceptance bloom in the face of hardship? Regardless, she learned that if you shine a light on darkness, sometimes, just sometimes, a pathway unfolds. As the crowd began to rally behind her, Emily stood strong, her heart pounding louder than ever. But the future remained uncertain. Could a little girl's plea really bridge the gap between desperation and hope? Or would the indifference of others still darken their lives? Only time would tell. Emily's heart raced as the applause swelled around her. She had opened the door to empathy, and now the audience was shifting, mulling over their perceptions. Beneath all the noise, she felt the glue of their community start to form, slowly but surely, around the shared struggles that united them. She took a deep breath, the air thick with hope and uncertainty. "Thank you," she whispered into the mic, uncertain what to say next. The warmth from the crowd enveloped her like a hug. But beneath the joy, worry gnawed at her. What if this was all just a momentary glow? What if her mother needed help, and no one stepped up when it truly mattered? The voices of leaders rang out, calling for contributions, pledges, promises of action. The principal, Mr. Jacobs, stood up, his stern demeanor softened by concern. "Let us start a fundraiser," he announced. "Emily's story can inspire us to work together." Nods spread through the crowd. Yet, amid the hopeful chatter, the reality of her home weighed heavily on Emily's thoughts. She could almost hear the creaks of the old apartment, smell the sterile scent of medication mixing with the aroma of her baking attempts. What if, despite all the mobilization, no one could truly understand her family's struggle? She caught a glimpse of her best friend, Sarah, in the audience. Sarah's eyes were wide, reflecting both pride and concern. Emily knew she would be there for her, come what may. But then, an even sharper realization struck her: the deeper pain was still hidden behind the doors of many homes around them. People had seen her shine today, but how many were feeling the same weight she carried quietly? Just as she was about to step down, a familiar figure emerged from the shadows of the wings. It was Mrs. Thompson, the local nurse and an old family friend. With an urgency in her stride, she approached the stage. "Emily," her voice rang out, "I have news about your mom." The crowd hushed, breaths caught in throats. Fear curled around Emily's heart like a vine, squeezing tightly. Would this be the moment she had feared? "Beth is in need of immediate care," Mrs. Thompson continued, her expression serious yet gentle. "There's a new treatment available. If we can rally support, we may be able to get her the help she needs." Murmurs of concern and inference spread like wildfire. Emily felt tears prickle at the corners of her eyes. It was more than just her song that had weathered the storm of apathy. There was a tangible opportunity to break past a long-held silence. The looming threat transformed into a cause. She had started a wave, and suddenly, it was gaining momentum. "Thank you, Mrs. Thompson," Emily managed to say, voice trembling but determined. The audience instinctively leaned forward, their compassion conjuring a force she couldn't have imagined. In that tense moment, she felt the weight of a silent promise: their lives were intertwined now. The community that reacted with apathy was slowly transforming into a web of support. With newfound courage, Emily stood taller. "Together, we can fight for not just my mom but for all the families out there who struggle in silence. Let us make a change." A roar of applause followed, but deep inside, Emily still battled fear. As she stepped back, she knew the path ahead was rocky, riddled with uncertainty. But the glimmer of hope kindled in her heart shined brighter than ever. As she exited the stage, her mind was racing. What needed to happen next? Would the community stay united when faced with real challenges, or would it crumble back into indifference? The answers were hidden behind the shadows that still loomed over their lives. But one thing was abundantly clear: this fight was just beginning, and their plea echoed stronger than ever. Emily stepped off the stage, the buzzing applause still ringing in her ears. The moment felt surreal, like a scene from a movie where everything falls into place in the end. But the emotions boiling under the surface were raw and real. She glanced around the room, taking in the faces she had connected with, faces full of promise. Yet doubt crept in like a familiar shadow. Would this promise last when the reality came knocking? "Emily!" Sarah rushed toward her, eyes gleaming with a mix of excitement and worry. "You were amazing! Everyone is really talking about getting involved." "Thanks," but Emily paused, struggling with the weight of her thoughts. What if they just say they will, and then nothing changes when they have to actually act? "Come on, don't think like that," Sarah replied quickly. "You opened their eyes. This is a turning point." Emily wished she could share Sarah's optimism, but the pang of her mother's need tugged at her heart. "I just hope it's not just talk," she murmured, feeling the pressure in her chest squeeze tighter. Mrs. Thompson approached them, her face softened with warmth. "Emily, can I have a word?" The urgency in her tone pulled at Emily's gut, and she nodded, knowing this was about more than just words spoken on stage. "Let us step outside," Mrs. Thompson suggested. Once outside, the cool evening air greeted them, bringing a breath of clarity. "Your mom's condition is serious, and we need to act quickly if we're going to secure the funds for the treatment." Emily's heart sank yet again. "How much will we need?" Mrs. Thompson hesitated. "It's about $15,000, give or take, depending on what insurance can cover. That's why the fundraiser is crucial. The magnitude of the amount seemed to swallow Emily whole. That's so much. How can we raise that? We have to start small. Pull together the community. Organize events, bake sales, a charity concert, perhaps even a 5K run. Every little bit counts, Mrs. Thompson said, her eyes gleaming with determination. Emily looked back toward the gym, where laughter and excitement mingled with hopeful chatter. Was it possible? Could a group of ordinary people really gather around her family's need? Let me help you, Sarah chimed in, eagerness spilling from her smile. This isn't just about your mom, it's bigger than that, isn't it? About everyone who is struggling. Yes, Emily breathed, feeling a flicker of purpose ignite within her. It's about all those families out there. A wave of energy surged through her. This was no longer just her fight, it was theirs too. She could feel the inspiration thrumming through her veins, bringing clarity and focus. Together. The word was simple yet monumental. We can make a difference. If we bring everyone in, the impact could be huge. As they walked back inside, Emily held on to that surge of hope. She spotted the principal and other community leaders taking notes, excitement palpable in the air. But as her gaze shifted momentarily, she noticed a woman in the corner, her face lined with worry. Emily felt an unusual pull toward her and decided to approach. Hi, I'm Emily, she introduced herself, her voice carrying the warmth she desperately wanted to share. I noticed you seemed concerned. Is everything all right? The woman turned, surprise flickering across her face before she smiled weakly. It's just that I'm struggling too. It may not be the same as your mom's situation, but we need help. It feels hopeless sometimes. In that moment, Emily realized the truth. While her own family needed support, there were many others who were quietly battling their demons. Perhaps this wasn't just about raising money. It was about creating a family among strangers, forming bonds that could uplift them all. What if we help each other? Emily suggested, her spirit soaring anew. The woman's eyes began to glisten. You think they would care? Of course they would. We just have to show them how. As Emily returned to her friends, she felt that familiar warmth inside. Her confidence was blooming, and she was ready to gather the voices of many. But as she looked at the crowd again, a knot of uncertainty bubbled up within her. Could she truly lead the charge? Could they really bridge the gaps between their stories? The echoes of her plea faded into the backdrop. But a new question emerged: could this be the spark they all needed to stand together? Emily stood at the edge of the bustling gym, the energy of the room pulsing around her. Sarah and Mrs. Thompson were animatedly discussing plans for the upcoming fundraiser, but Emily's mind was still spinning with possibilities. She felt a torch of responsibility igniting within her, but fear laced through her thoughts. What if this turned out to be just another false hope? Hey, you okay? Sarah caught her gaze, the concern in her friend's voice breaking through the haze. Yeah, Emily replied, but her voice trembled ever so slightly. Just thinking, what if we really can't pull this off? What if the community doesn't rally behind us? Look at them! Sarah waved towards the crowd, chatting energetically. People are already excited. We've got this if you believe in it. Remember what you said? Together. Encouraged by Sarah's unwavering support, Emily let her optimism resurface. You're right. If we can just show everyone how important this is, maybe they'll surprise us. Mrs. Thompson, still nearby, nodded in affirmation. Communication is key. You have to share your story, Emily. It's not just about your mom's medical bills. It's about so many in this community who are fighting their own battles. Your authenticity will inspire them. Feeling an unfamiliar weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders, Emily took a deep breath. I can do this. I need to do this. She stepped back from the sidelines and joined Sarah and Mrs. Thompson, ready to devise a plan. Okay, so what's first? We definitely need some flyers, Emily suggested, her heart racing. We can make them colorful and catchy. Let's spread the word far and wide. As they brainstormed ardently, she noticed the same woman she'd spoken to earlier, sitting apart with her head bowed low. That sense of connection stirred once more within Emily. "I'll be right back," she told the others, moving towards the woman. "Hey," Emily approached, her voice gentle. "Can I sit with you?" The woman looked up, her surprise shifting into a tentative smile. "Sure. I could use some company." "I know things are tough right now," Emily said softly, pulling a chair beside her. "But you're not alone. We're planning a fundraiser, not just for my mom but for anyone who needs a little help. If you want to share your story, we can include you in it." Tears brimmed in the woman's eyes. "I don't want to be a burden. I've always kept my struggles to myself." Emily shook her head. "You're not a burden. Your story matters. When we unite our voices, we create something beautiful. We show everyone that we're stronger together. That we care for each other." The woman took a deep breath, the tension in her shoulders easing slightly. "I never thought I would seek help. I guess I thought I had to do it alone always." Emily reached across the table, placing her hand on the woman's. "You don't have to. I didn't know if I could do this either, and it felt so lonely at first. But I believe if we come together, we can lift each other up." With a nod, the woman wiped a tear. "You might be onto something. Maybe I do have a story worth telling." Encouraged, Emily grinned widely, feeling a sense of newfound strength. "Yes. There's so much power in sharing our truths. Let us make sure they hear us." As they made plans to meet again, Emily felt that fire ignite in her again. This was just the beginning. One conversation sparked hope. She moved back to join Sarah and Mrs. Thompson, excitement bubbling in her chest. But as she turned, she couldn't help but notice a timid figure at the very back of the gym, arms crossed tightly over her chest. An unfamiliar anxiety tugged at Emily. Was this girl battling something too? Feeling the pull that had led her to the woman moments ago, Emily wondered, could the ripples of their small gathering finally grow into waves of change? Or was her dream at risk of drowning in uncertainty yet again? Emily felt her heart rate quicken as she approached the girl at the back of the gym. There was something about her posture, arms crossed tightly, gaze fixed on the ground, that tugged at Emily's empathy. She remembered her own doubts, her own hesitations just moments ago. What if this girl needed the same spark of encouragement she had just given? "Hi there," she said softly, trying to breach the wall that seemed to envelop the girl. "I'm Emily. What's your name?" The girl looked up, her eyes wide. They were a striking shade of brown, warm but shadowed with an uncertainty that sent a pang through Emily's chest. "Caitlin," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Caitlin shifted slightly, a trapped bird yearning for freedom. "I'm not really sure what I'm doing here," she admitted. "Me either," Emily confessed, her sincerity breaking the ice. "I was scared too. But we're planning something special, a fundraiser to help people in our community who are struggling. Would you like to be a part of it? I think your story deserves to be heard." As the words left her mouth, Emily saw a flicker of interest in Caitlin's eyes. Just a glimmer, but it was enough to pull Emily in closer. "I don't know if my story matters," Caitlin replied, her voice shaking slightly. "Of course it does. Everyone has a story worth sharing," Emily said warmly. "You never know who you might inspire. It's all about lifting each other up." Caitlin looked thoughtful for a moment, her gaze drifting towards the lively chatter and laughter permeating the gym. "What if I'm not brave enough?" she murmured. "You don't have to be brave on your own," Emily reassured her. "We're all in this together. I wasn't brave at first either. But when I talked to that lady over there," Emily gestured back to where the woman sat, "and saw her reaction, it changed everything for me. We're here to help each other. Will you join us?" A heavy pause lingered in the air. Emily could feel the weight of Caitlin's uncertainty, but there was something else too, an ember of hope that flickered between them. Emily held her breath, waiting. After what felt like an eternity, Caitlin took a deep breath. Maybe I could try." "Absolutely!" Emily exclaimed, her face lighting up with encouragement. "That's all it takes, just trying. Let us meet with Sarah and Mrs. Thompson and see what we can make happen. Together." As they walked back towards the crowd, Emily felt a swell of hope rising within her. She glanced over at Caitlin, who walked slightly behind, her shoulders less tense, a hint of a smile appearing on her face. Was this the start of something beautiful? Could two hesitant voices transform into a symphony that would unite their community? Suddenly, an explosion of applause erupted across the gym as Mrs. Thompson took the stage to announce the upcoming fundraiser. The cheers echoed, filling the space, wrapping around them like a blanket of warmth. Emily's heart soared. This was the moment they had been waiting for. But just as she began to feel invincible, she noticed movement in the back of the gym. A group had gathered, whispering and pointing toward the stage. Emily squinted to see, feeling a sense of dread wash over her. What was happening? Her heartbeat quickened again, and as she searched the crowd for answers, she felt a new wave of fear creep in. Would they stand united or divided in this pivotal moment? The air thickened with uncertainty, and Emily wondered if the very foundation they had begun to build was about to be tested. Emily's pulse raced as she turned her attention back to the commotion at the back of the gym. The cheers faded into the background, replaced by a growing tension that gripped her chest. She could see a handful of students gathered, their expressions caught somewhere between curiosity and contempt. Murmurs floated through the air, harsh and unmistakable. "What are they saying?" Caitlin's voice was barely audible, but the tremor in it revealed her concern. "I don't really know," Emily replied, her brow furrowing. "But we should check it out. Let us stick together." They made their way through the crowd, stepping cautiously to avoid anyone who might cast a disapproving glance their way. As they drew nearer, Emily caught snippets of conversation, the tone growing increasingly hostile. "Did you hear about her?" a girl exclaimed, laughter dripping from her voice. "Way to try and save the world, but who actually wants to hear her story?" "That's just embarrassing," someone else chimed in, and Emily felt the blood rush to her cheeks. Caitlin shivered beside her, her previous confidence slipping like sand through her fingers. "Maybe we should just go back," she suggested, her eyes darting away. "No!" Emily insisted, squeezing Caitlin's arm. "Don't let them get to you. You're stronger than this. Remember what we talked about. This is your moment too." But even as she spoke these words, Emily felt a creeping doubt uncoil within her stomach. She had wanted to help, to create a space where everyone as bruised as they might be could find their voice. Now, it seemed that voice was drowning in a sea of ridicule. At the center of the gathering stood a boy, known among their classmates for his sharp tongue and scornful attitude. His arms are folded, smirking as if he held all the power in the room. "Right. Who really thinks a fundraiser is going to solve anything? It's just a cute way to distract yourself from real problems." The crowd hesitated, a murmur of agreement rippling through. Emily felt the collective breath of hope deflating in the room, leaving her heart heavy with a sense of despair. Caitlin let out a shaky breath, her voice barely reaching above the cacophony. "What are we supposed to do?" "They don't want to hear me." "Yes, they do," Emily interjected fiercely. "Caitlin, you have a voice, and it deserves to be heard just as much as anyone else's." But just then, a soft voice pierced the noise, standing between them and the group. It was Sarah, her face pale but determined. "Can I say something?" she asked timidly, yet her words demanded silence. The murmurs quieted to a hush as all eyes turned towards her. Emily's heart swelled with a flicker of hope. Maybe this was a chance for Sarah to bridge the gap, to remind everyone of the power of connection. "Everyone has a story," Sarah began, her voice steadier now. "And every single one matters. What if Caitlin's story is exactly what someone else needs to hear? We're not here to tear each other down, we're here to lift each other up. Isn't that what we want?" Emily watched Caitlin's expression shift. The spark of inspiration they felt earlier ignited once more. Would that spark spread like wildflowers through the crowd? But just as Emily's heart began to race with renewed optimism, she caught sight of the boy at the front rolling his eyes, ready to shoot down Sarah's plea before it could blossom. "Yeah, right. What's the point? No one's going to listen to someone like her." Inside, Emily felt a tightening grip of panic. Would the fragile alliance they were building crumble at the hands of such cruelty? Would Caitlin retreat once more? In that electrifying moment, Emily understood they had a choice to make, to fight against the negativity or let it win. She took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of Caitlin's presence beside her. This was at the moment that could change everything. Together, we'll show them, Emily declared, determination lacing her voice. Let us give them a reason to listen. As they stood there, united in spirit, the question loomed large: would they step forward, take that leap, or would doubt drown out their courage once again? Emily felt the weight of the moment pressing down on her shoulders. Taking a step forward, she felt the warmth of Caitlin's hand in hers, a lifeline in the sea of judgment. Caitlin! She called out, her voice bold against the wavering energy of the crowd. This is your chance. Tell them what it means for you. The boy's smirk faltered slightly, but his confidence surged back as he sneered, and what difference will that make? Caitlin's eyes widened. Emily squeezed her hand tighter. You can do this. Just speak from your heart, she whispered, hope shimmering in her stomach despite the doubt gnawing at her. With a deep breath, Caitlin stepped forward. The whispers around the gym faded, replaced with an expectant silence. Her palms were clammy, and she could feel the heat of embarrassment creeping up her neck, but something about the way Emily stood beside her gave her the strength she didn't know she had. Okay, Caitlin began, her voice fragile yet clear. I'm not trying to save the world or anything. I'm just trying to do something good. She paused, gathering her thoughts as the murmurs turned to stillness around her. Last year, my mom got really sick. I was scared. We didn't have the money for the treatments she needed. It was harder than anything I ever faced. I felt alone. But I found out about the community, the people who cared. Caitlin glanced at Emily, who nodded encouragingly. People helped me and my mom. They didn't look away when we were struggling. They did something that meant the world to us. I want to give back, even if it's just a little. I know I'm just one person, but I believe we can really help each other. As she spoke, Caitlin's voice grew stronger. The boy's mocking expression began to shift. Emily noticed students in the crowd exchanging glances. Some looked thoughtful, others started to nod. The shift was palpable, like a wave changing course. What if we could all come together? Caitlin continued, her courage rising. We can make a difference. Maybe not overnight, but we can try. And everyone deserves to feel like they matter. That their story matters. Emotion swelled in the air. 2 or 3 scattered applause echoed softly, then grew as the crowd, hesitant at first, began to show support. The boy's face twisted in frustration. But it's still pointless. You really think people will care? Emily could see Caitlin taking a big breath, prepared to counter him. But she wasn't the only one. I care! Sarah exclaimed, stepping forward again, her resolve sparkling in her eyes. Caitlin, your story is beautiful. We all have someone we want to fight for. Yes. Another student shouted from the back. What do we have to lose by trying? As voices began to rise, a sense of unity spiraled through the gym, mixing with raw emotion, like wildfire igniting in dry grass. Emily jumped in with fervor. Let us form a team. Let us rally together for every story that needs to be shared. We can't let negativity win. The gym buzzed with energy now, a chorus of voices rising in agreement, excitement mingled with determination. The boy stood there, shock lining his face as he realized he was losing the battle. Yet in that moment, deep within, Emily felt the tide of fear start to release its grip. They were becoming something beautiful together, and for the first time, she believed they could show the world what it really meant to care. But just then, as the cheers echoed and the positivity surged, Emily noticed a figure at the back of the gym, someone she never expected to see there. The abrupt shift in her heartbeat filled the air with uncertainty. Who would it be? And what would they bring to the whirlwind of emotions now swirling in the gym? A hush fell over the gym as Emily's gaze locked onto the familiar figure. For a split second, time seemed to freeze. It was her brother Ryan. He had come home unexpectedly from college, his presence a jarring contrast to the vibrant energy of the moment. Confusion washed over her. What was he doing here? Caitlin, still in her stride, hadn't he noticed the shift in energy? We can do this, she called to the crowd, her eyes sparkling with hope. Emily felt torn, wanting to show Ryan her support but knowing the important moment still belonged to Caitlin. Ryan stood at the back, his expression unreadable. He looked a little disheveled, a cross between excited and concerned, and Emily could sense the worries weighing on him as he scanned the chaotic scene before him. The small-town gym, once a backdrop for high school games, now felt like an arena, and Caitlin the shining star. Emily! Ryan mouthed, his brow furrowing slightly. She could hear the urgency in his face, though no words escaped his lips. The crowd's excitement was so loud, but suddenly it felt like they were in their own small world. Caitlin hadn't backed down, though. Together, we can fight for everyone who feels left out or alone. Her voice surged with passion. We can show them what community really means. It's about lifting each other up. Emily's heart swelled with pride in her friend. But Ryan's silent plea tugged at her attention. She was caught between two worlds, the exhilaration surrounding her and the concern brewing in her brother's eyes. We're not alone, Caitlin declared, and the crowd erupted again, shouts of agreement filling the space. But as the cheers echoed, Emily hesitated. Ryan had always been her protector, her guide through the toughest of times. He faced demons at home she had only learned to combat since he left. And now, watching him from a distance, anxiety tightened in her chest. Determined to help Caitlin make her moment last, Emily took a deep breath. Let us create a support group, she shouted, her voice slicing through the roar. We can gather stories, needs make sure no one feels alone. Cheers erupted in response, fists pumping the air, creating an electric buzz that enveloped them all. Caitlin beamed at Emily, grateful, but Ryan took a step forward, breaking through the crowd. He called out, cutting through the joyful noise with a voice full of urgency. The room couldn't ignore the tension that surged as all eyes turned to him. Emily's heart raced. What could be so important that it had to be said now? Can you come over here for a second? Ryan's voice was firm, but the worry behind his eyes wasn't lost on her. Caitlin's expression faltered, and without knowing why, Emily felt a chill spread through her. Bursting with excitement moments ago, the gym now felt heavy with uncertainty. What was Ryan going to say? With every step toward her brother, she could sense the shift in energy. Every cheer faded a little, replaced by a sense of foreboding. She turned back to Caitlin, who watched with an expression that mirrored her own confusion mingled with concern. Just as their eyes met, Emily whispered, "I'll be right back." She didn't know what waited for her in the distance, but she knew one thing. It was going to change everything. What news would Ryan bring that could alter the promise of unity they had just begun to forge? Emily felt the weight of the crowded gym pressing down on her as she walked toward Ryan. Each step felt heavier, the adrenaline of the moment morphing into a dull ache in her chest. The frenzied cheers faded behind her, like echoes in a deep well. She focused on Ryan, whose face was close now, etched with worry. What could be so urgent? He said again, more softly this time, glancing nervously around the gym, his eyes darting as if he were trying to decide how much to share in this loud, chaotic space. Can we talk? It's important. Emily nodded, her stomach twisting. She glanced back at Caitlin, whose bright smile had dulled. The solidarity they had built in the past few minutes felt fragile now. Whatever Ryan had to say, it felt like it could shatter everything. Over here, Ryan urged, guiding her to a quieter corner of the gym, away from prying ears. A tangle of emotions snaked around Emily's heart, fear, anticipation, and sadness all mixing together. Ryan hesitated, clearly grappling with how to begin. "It's Mom," he finally said, voice low and solemn. Emily's breath caught in her throat. What about her? The name alone invoked a swirl of memories, laughter and love punctuated by the recent darkness that had crept into their lives. Ryan rubbed a hand across the back of his neck, a gesture she recognized all too well. She's not doing well. The doctors, he took a deep breath, steel entering his voice. They think it might be serious. The world around Emily faded away. The echoing cheers, the pulsating energy of the crowd, it all evaporated into nothingness. What do you mean serious? The question trembled at the edge of her lips as her heart raced. Panic ignited in her chest, a fire she had fought back for so long. I don't know exactly, Ryan said, pain flickering in his eyes. But she's been in and out of the hospital. I just found out last night. I came home to be with her, to help. Emily's mind raced with the enormity of it all. Her mother, the lifeblood of their family, their rock. The woman who had always put her and Ryan first. And you didn't think to tell me sooner? The words slipped out, raw and jagged, a knee-jerk reaction to the surreal news. I didn't have time. Ryan's voice rose, then dropped as he glanced at the crowd again. I just knew I had to tell you. I didn't want to distract you from this. He gestured back toward the gym. The lights were still dazzling, the cheers still ringing. Emily's chest tightened. Caitlin's moment was fading, while her world was shattering. What can I do? She whispered, the rage of her initial response melting into a quiet plea. How can we help her? Ryan's expression softened, his worry shifting into resolve. We'll figure it out together. But we need to be strong. For Mom. And for each other. The uncertainty loomed heavy, but amid the storm of her emotions, Emily felt a flicker of strength settle within her. She had always relied on Ryan, but maybe now was her time to help him, to unite them all for their mother. Suddenly, the gym started to feel more vibrant again. She could sense Caitlin's energy bubbling at the edge of her consciousness. They could do this, could keep fighting for more than just their ideals. They now had a new purpose. As Ryan drew closer, a new determination sparked in her heart. No one gets left behind, Ryan. We need to gather everyone. Not just to support Caitlin, but to help Mom, too. Ryan nodded, his respect for her blossoming along with the resolve in her words. Yeah, we'll make it happen. But even as they stood side by side, the enormity of her mother's illness pressed down heavily on Emily's thoughts. They needed their community like never before. Would they be able to unite everyone for their family as they rallied behind Caitlin's cause? And what would it take to overcome the challenges that lay ahead? With hope fading in the shadows of uncertainty, Emily felt the next chapter of their lives unfold. Emily stood there, her heart racing, a mix of determination and fear surging through her. They needed to act, and fast. As she turned back towards the gym, she could hear the voices in the crowd, some whispers of support, others soaked in doubt. She needed those doubts to turn to belief. Let us go, she said, grabbing Ryan's arm, urgency charged in her words. He nodded, concern still etched on his face, but she could see a flicker of pride in his eyes at her bravery. As they approached the stage, Caitlin was still rattling on about the fundraiser, her voice quivering but strong. Emily could see more people leaning in, the energy shifting from skepticism to curiosity. It was a slight change, but enough to spark hope. Everyone! Emily shouted, breaking through the noise. She didn't care that her voice trembled, she just needed to be heard. Can I have your attention? Please? The murmurs began to quiet. Caitlin's eyes widened in surprise as she turned to see Emily standing tall, her determination sparking like fireworks against the darkness. What I'm about to say is more than just my story. It's about our families, our neighbors, the ones who struggle silently. Ryan just came home because we found out Mom is really sick. But it's not just our battle anymore. We need each other more than ever. Gasps echoed through the gym, and Emily felt the concern ripple across the crowd. But she pressed on, fire igniting within her. Together we can change that. We can lift up every voice, even those that fear they don't matter. Caitlin stepped forward, her face glowing with newfound courage. Like I said, our stories matter. If we come together, we can help Emily's mom, and so many others in our town who are quietly hurting. The crowd shifted again, eyes shining with empathy. It's our time now. We can stand against the silence, Caitlin continued, and Emily felt the pulse of unity washing over them. And then just like that the boy who had sneered moments before shifted uneasily, his bravado faltering as a couple of his friends chimed in, "Yeah. We're all in this together." Nods spread across the audience, and Emily's heart swelled. Ryan stepped forward, his steady voice carrying through, "Let us gather donations, spread awareness. We can do events, bake sales, fun runs, anything. We need to rally behind not only Emily's mom but anyone fighting that shadow of hopelessness." As cheers erupted, Emily turned back to Ryan, her chest filled with emotion. This was it. They were finally shifting the tides, transforming despair into action. The community they talked about, the promise of unity, they were igniting something powerful. "Can we do it?" Caitlin looked around, excitement bubbling as people began to lift their hands, cheering in agreement. Emily wanted to cry. It felt like a weight lifting. "Yes. We can do this." She felt the heat of so many hopeful hearts wrapped around her, and the idea that desperation could be transformed into hope solidified into something concrete. Volunteers quickly sprang into action, grabbing markers and poster boards, forming committees. They would make plans, tackle the issues that lay ahead. It wasn't just about supporting Emily's family anymore. It was about a community awakening, ready to hold each other up through their struggles. As people began to break into groups, Emily caught sight of Caitlin, who stood beaming with pride, a lightness in her steps. Emily felt a rush of gratitude for the friendship they'd forged, for the way it turned heavy hearts into soaring spirits. The night unfolded full of laughter and camaraderie, ideas weaving tightly together. Each moment felt electric with possibility. Emily felt Ryan at her side, drawing strength from him. They weren't alone in this fight together, they could strive forward against the darkness. As the applause filled the gym again, a sense of fulfillment wrapped around Emily. She turned to Caitlin. "We really did it. This is just the beginning." Caitlin nodded, her expression radiant. "What if we made this an annual thing? This community waiting for connection, let us keep giving them a reason to join us." Emily's heart soared. They were changing lives. They had ignited a fire, and the warmth created by their shared stories would shine long after the lights dimmed that night. The doubts faded, replaced by enduring hope. They would keep fighting the silent battles, one plea, one story at a time. They were no longer living in shadows. Together they had stepped into the light. Now it felt real. Every person mattered, every voice counted. The gym buzzed with promises of change, and Emily let herself smile. They would tackle tomorrow as they ventured forward: Mom's health, the community's needs. They could face it all together. This bond deepened in ways she never imagined, and nothing, no bitterness, no past struggles would tear them apart. "Now let us bring Mom back home," Emily whispered, and as the crowd erupted in one last cheer, she knew she would never stand alone again. And here's where you come in. If you felt even a pinch of that hope, you need to subscribe now. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support means everything. Comment below to share your feelings, your reactions. Let your voice be part of this change. This is the moment to show your support. Join us and be a part of the journey.